All right, guys. So today we're going to take a look at the Panthers' use of the 4-by-1 formation. Um, Obviously, as you're going to see, it's been very successful for them. Before I really delved into it, I think they've only run it. I think I found that we're going to see 4 instances of this play. I think pretty much every time they come out in a bunch formation with McCaffrey in the backfield and then end up motioning him out wide of the bunch or just wide of the bunch. Yeah, what's interesting is I think they've run it 4 times. And I think every single time you're going to see them run the exact same concepts with every single player from each position running the exact same routes. So they're not even varying necessarily which guy's running which route. It'll be interesting to see going forward if they change that up at all. But let's go ahead and get to the first play, and I'm going to diagram the routes for you on the first one just to show you what to look for going forward. And then we'll kind of talk about the different coverages that they see against it and which routes they hit and why or why not or why it wasn't effective. All right, so here I've got it diagrammed up for you. So what's going to happen, and like I said, this is going to be true of every single time they run this formation. So you're going to have McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, motioned out wide. He's going to run a pivot route. So he's going to fake like he's running inside, pivot back outside, and you have Kelvin Benjamin. I'll talk about these kind of in the concept pairs. Kelvin Benjamin is going to run this corner route here, which creates a high-low stretch between him and McCaffrey. And then, so that's, kind of going to be your corner pivot concept, similar to like a corner flat, but just with the receiver faking in to come back outside, kind of into the flat. And then they're going to pair that with a drive high-low concept. So the most inside receiver is going to run kind of a dig or a deep over type of route here. Then you're going to have the second receiver, which in this case is Devin Funchess, and he's going to run this little shallow cross. So essentially out of this 4-by-1 formation, you're going to pair two concepts together. On the outside, you're going to create a high-low stretch with the corner and the pivot, and on the inside, you're also going to create a high-low stretch. As you'll see, they don't really do anything different with this. They obviously could. That'll be one thing to monitor going forward. They could run, other concepts out of the 4-by-1 formation. You will see at the end that McCaffrey sort of reads his defender and ends up following through the middle. That is another option, is to kind of have these guys potentially clear out the middle of the field, but then McCaffrey coming behind them. There's really a lot of different things you could do from this formation. You could, potentially run, something more vertical. But let's look here at this particular play. So when McCaffrey motions out, you're going to see not Gilmore, but whoever this other player is here, he's going to end up basically just manning up on McCaffrey. And then what it looks like is that you have a single high safety. You have Dixon over here as the one. They're going to man him up as well, too, I believe. But what it looks like is they're going to check into some kind of, what they call like banjo coverage, which is essentially just where a way to defend bunch formations where they basically dictate rules about all, you have Gilmore here shaded outside. So what's going to happen is he's supposed to have, the receiver that comes to the outside. But he, for whatever reason, just doesn't cover Kelvin Benjamin. So, it's a busted coverage for sure. But one of the things about this formation, you're going to see it at least one more time, is that it does sort of confuse the defense and make them, kind of at the last minute right before the snap, try to communicate about how they're going to defend the formation. So it does stress your defensive communication, and you'll see that here is that these guys kind of follow their rules in terms of picking up, I'm the first inside, I'm the second inside, or I'm the high inside, the low inside, and then Gilmore, who's supposed to be that outside receiver, just doesn't pick Benjamin up, and it's a first down. So let's go ahead and just going through these routes, and then so you see busted coverage, Benjamin wide open. So not much to it on that play. Like I said, it's mostly just about how the formation stresses the defense in terms of communication. All right, so here we go again. This is another good example of how this 4-by-1 formation is going to stress the defense here. So McCaffrey's going to motion out, and you can see they're just pointing, talking to each other. They really don't know they're going to defend it. At the last minute, You're going to see this linebacker realizes that nobody is responsible for Dixon, so he's going to go out there and basically cover Dixon, essentially man-on-man. Looks like they're supposed to be in some kind of like cover 3 defense, cover 3 shell. But again, once you motion this 4-by-1 formation, just pay attention to the defense and how much they're on their heels and how much they're trying to really react, and not in an aggressive way. More just try to figure out what's going on. Again, you're going to have McCaffrey pivot route, Funchess, drag, Shepard, dig, Benjamin, corner. And all this confusion because they're playing a little tentative. Basically, Funchess is going to be wide open over the middle of the field, especially because this linebacker ends up vacating because of Dixon. So the defense is just, they were maybe even slightly in disarray before the motion, but once you motion McCaffrey out wide into this 4-by-1, they really have no idea what's going on. And you'll see, and it's nice too because obviously Shepard, we'll run that back real quick. You kind of see in this scenario that because of this tight bunch, both Shepard and Benjamin kind of create not exactly screens, but kind of natural traffic that the defenders have to work through to get to Devin Funchess. All right, so this is another good example of the utility of this formation. So again, McCaffrey motions out wide. You're in this 4-by-1. Like we've seen with the 3-by-1 and the previous plays before this, you're going to have Benjamin essentially man up here. It doesn't really matter. Cam's not really going to look that way. It's a good job by Cam here, and it's a good example of how this play has a lot of built-in, and specifically one in particular, built-in hot route. So obviously, you can run with side adjustments, which the Panthers will do sometimes. But if you remember the San Francisco 49ers with Alex Smith and Jim Harbaugh, and then with Colin Kaepernick as well, they also like to have built-in hot routes to all their concepts. And you'll see that here. So you don't have to change the play to beat the blitz, but you can just look to the routes that should be open if you have a big blitz. And that's what you'll have here is you'll see them bring pressure off the left side, at least in terms of the offensive side. It'd be the right side of the defense. And, in that case, what you're going to see is really essentially what the play looks like is, all or 3 of these 4 guys breaking inside. So what that's going to do to one of these guys in coverage is he's going to drive hard on all 3 of those in-breaking routes. Once McCaffrey turns to pivot, he's basically wide open in the flat. So that pivot route is really one of the main hot route options because, if you're going to bring pressure from that side, it's often going to leave vulnerability in the defense, especially if you're going to fake in and then go back out. So it's great play recognition by Cam and also great play design to have those built-in hot. So let's go ahead and hit play on this and see it unfold. You're going to see that defender react, and then it's, nothing but green grass and nice, easy play. All right, so this is going to be the only one that wasn't successful, though primarily because of pass protection. So, again, McCaffrey motions out. They're basically going to play this man up with some zone defenders underneath, which is not a bad way to play it if you can do it right. But what you're going to see is that Curtis Samuel is going to get quite open on his corner route, but unfortunately, the protection was not able to hold up long enough for Cam to be able to work to that route and make the throw. So, again, it's funny. They run the same concept every time out of this formation. Granted, they've only run it, 4 or 5 times. But every time, it seems to create an opportunity for them, at least in terms of the concept. Now, again, it doesn't work this time because of the pass protection, and Cam actually ends up making an ill-advised throw, but trying to scramble away from the defense. But it's a good example of, even if the defense, which probably should theoretically know what's coming at this point, it still stresses that defense conceptually. And like I said, especially having Curtis Samuel on the field running that corner route instead of Kelvin Benjamin, even if they, go man and he can win in that scenario. And it might be interesting, to kind of give him, the option of just running a straight seam on that route, too, depending on how the defense plays it. But let's go ahead and take a look here. So you're going to see Samuel win. I mean, he's open. That's if Cam has time to make that throw, that's a potential big play. But instead scrambles around and nothing. So that's going to do it really. That's as many plays as we've seen in terms of the Panthers run that 4-by-1 formation. Again, Very interesting that they have not run a different concept. They haven't changed who runs the routes, at least in terms of the alignment of the formation. There have been different personnel, different players who run it, but always that motion out of the backfield. So if you see that again on Monday night, that motion out of the backfield into the 4x1, just think of that, pivot corner and that dig with the shallow cross. Know that's coming, and try to look at how the defense communicates before the snap about how they're going to cover it, and then look to see how Cam reads it and how they use that formation to beat various defensive coverages.